Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. You are tuning in to episode 11. We've been doing this now. This is our 11th time spending time together. And I am back again at 7 p.m. Cheers to that. Having myself a strawberry bubbly. I have been loving my night recording sessions. We talked about it last week, but I don't know. I feel good. I feel good at night, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of think about the episode throughout the day. This morning, so I have to tell you the cutest story. As you know, because I talk about it on every episode, I am planning my wedding to my amazing, wonderful, perfect fiance, Clark. He is the best. You know who is also the best, and you know why he is the best, is he is the offspring of two perfect, amazing, wonderful people. And I was talking to my mother-in-law on the phone every day. That is not true. I was talking to her on the phone today, but I was telling her, or I feel like I tell her every time that she does this, but she listens to every single episode of Workflows and Espressos. And then after she listens to the episodes, she texts me like a synopsis of her feelings on the episode, which is always positive because she's so great. And she'll say like, I loved your episode today. I really loved when you said this. And I also totally related to this. And my favorite part was when you talked about this. And I don't know, it's been so meaningful to me for so many reasons. One of them being that I have lots of people that I know that don't have the best experience with their in-laws. So I feel very lucky to have an amazing mother-in-law to be. And also, if nobody else on this planet listens to my podcast, she does. All right. She is my number one fan, as well as my own mother and my sisters. But my mother-in-law, she's up there. You know, like she is, if there's merch, she's going to buy it and she's going to wear it and she's going to send me a picture. So, Susie, shout out to you. Also, my fiance's mom's name is Susan and my mom's name is also Susan. And they're both grandmothers to our siblings' children. And they both go by Gigi. So we're going to have to sort that out when we have kids. But also, hello, we're perfect for each other. Okay. So anyway, I had to tell you that tidbit. So cute. That is my intro for today. Also, wedding planning is going well. Thank you for asking. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling pretty relaxed. We just ordered our invitations yesterday, and I do feel like I have some pressure on the invitation side, and my planner is now starting to ask me more questions that actually have to do with the ceremony. So there are big decisions that we have to start making, like what music do we want to walk down the aisle to? And what else did she ask me recently that like really stressed me out? Oh, what order is everybody going to walk down the aisle in? And so now I have to like send the final list of addresses. A lot's happening. I know that's not why you're listening, okay? But I appreciate the fact that you will take 3 minutes and 39 seconds out of your day to listen to my day and my life. Today, we're going to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart. So I had planned, last week I asked the question on LinkedIn about softwares and like the software that people couldn't live without. This week I asked what everybody's favorite conference was and why. And I had planned to do an episode on that, which I am still going to, and I think that'll be next week. But I also remember that I talked about non-negotiables, my work non-negotiables, and I'll get into what that is and what that means in just a little bit. And this is something I think that is probably closest to my heart out of everything I've ever talked about on the show, and personally has helped me so much in my own career journey. So I'm going to talk about that today. And then next week, I'm going to talk about conferences. Spoiler. God. Well, at least I can use this as an opportunity for a little bit of sipping. I don't know why I continue to drink sparkling water when I record these episodes. My mouth is like watering. I also didn't feed my dogs before I recorded this, which is a mistake, let me tell you, because they are both staring at me like I am a steak. Also, I was a guest on a podcast today, and I don't think I can tell you which one yet, but it was very fun and very exciting. And I don't know when the episode's going to come out, but let's just say the gals had a good time. And that's all you really need to know. Okay. Let's talk about non-negotiables. And today's episode is titled The Tortured Employees Department. Number one, because Taylor Swift's new album came out on April 19th, and it is all I have listened to since April 19th. And number two, I feel like it's very fitting. Okay. Non-negotiables. Let's get it. Oh, I was going to tell you the spoiler alert from my comments, which is that everybody loves Amy Hino, obviously, and everybody loves Darm. And we are going to talk thoroughly about Darm and Amy and her incredible conferences and the rest of the conferences that go on annually and how to decide which conference to go to and all the things next week. So let's just not get into that right now. Let's get into the non-negotiables. I'm going to be utilizing my phone today to talk to you about mine. So I will take you on a small journey. About 3 years ago, almost exactly, a little less than that, I had started to think about what it would mean for me to leave my job of almost 6 years. And this job was somewhere where I feel like, and I know that I grew up so much while I was with the company. I was 22 when I started. And I lived so much life. Like, it is the job that afforded me the possibility to buy my first car, to buy my first house. And I met my best friends there and worked with some of my best friends there that came on after I started. Like, there were so many incredible things about working for this company. I met my mentors and I started my career in this industry. And so it was a very emotional process for me to decide to leave and then think about why I wanted to leave, number one, and what I wanted to do next. And I think that it's under discussed how difficult it is, one, to leave that type of career that has really like nurtured you and become really like this second family, which I do believe. And like, I know people have mixed feelings on like the work family and comments like that. Like, it did feel very much like a family to me. And I feel like I experienced more growth in that role than I had 100% in my life up until that point. So leaving was emotional, and deciding where to go and how to pick a company where I felt or could feel just as happy and challenged and all the things that I really cared about felt like a daunting task. And so I want to talk about things that should be most important to you when picking a role and creating that list and making sure that that is your internal compass and how you know that you are in the right spot and how you know it's time to leave. And then when you know it's time to leave, how to pick your next thing based on this internal compass that you have. So for the most part, I'm going to be talking to the employees on the call. Those of you who have employers that work for someone other than yourself and who have either been on a career search, who have thought about a career search, who feel unhappy in a role, even if you feel super happy in a role, doesn't matter what industry you're in. And then I also want to talk a little bit to the employers about why it's important for you to care about your employees, non-negotiables. Okay. So when I decided to leave this role, I remember I was sitting in my bedroom and listen, it's the sparkling water, and I apologize that I had to take that pause, but it just would have been better than burping in the microphone. Can you imagine? Okay. When I decided to leave my previous role, I remember I was sitting in my bedroom and I just had this like thought wash over me. And I just knew that it was time. Like, I am not growing here anymore. This phase of my life, this chapter is over, and it needs to be over. So I immediately went into, well, what the hell am I going to do now? And I feel like it was my therapist that maybe originally suggested this, or maybe I made this up. Probably not. I didn't make it up. I think it's probably her, which I can honestly credit a lot to her. Christina, I love you. So I opened the notes app on my phone. I wish I had the original day that I created this note. It was back in 2021, I think. early 2021. And back in the day, in the 2020s, Anyway, I created this note on my phone called Work Non-Negotiables, and I'm going to talk you through my work non-negotiables. So, my first non-negotiable, as I get it pulled up, so don't go anywhere, is leading. I was moved into a leadership position about 2 months into my first career job and had no idea what I was doing. It was very much trial by fire, or like being thrown into the deep end. And it was so hard, but I credit that experience in managing people in general to so much of the fulfillment that I feel now as a 30-year-old woman who's been in my career for almost 10 years and has had, success. Oh, you know what it was? I was about to say something confident, and my dogs were like, "You're going to sound cocky." Hey, do not do that. Please go lay down. Anyway, back to me. So I find so much fulfillment from being in a managerial position and having a team and fostering people through their own career. And I have this really strong need to give back the mentorship that I received in the first 6 years of my career. So leading is one of my non-negotiables. If I take a role, it is very important to me that I am in a position of leadership. It doesn't have to be the leadership position, just some role where I can lead a team or even one person, a team of one. Okay. Number 2 is learning. I am someone where if I am not learning something new every day, I feel like depressed, to be honest. And there is so much fulfillment again. I mean, obviously these are my non-negotiables, right? So every single thing on this list creates so much fulfillment in my life. But I decided in this role, my next role or any role that I ever have, if I am not learning every day, even if it is one small thing or if it's 100 big things, I just have to be learning consistently. So learning is number 2. Number 3 is opportunity. So something that has been important to me and still is now is opportunity in a role. And most of that is like opportunity for growth, right? And at this point in time, I'm the executive director at my company. Other than owning my business, there isn't anywhere that I can go from here. But there is still growth opportunity. We can still expand. We can still grow our team. We can still grow our inventory, right? Like the second that I feel like I'm hitting a ceiling and there's no growth next to me or underneath or beside or above me or around me, like I'm unfulfilled. I have to be somewhere where I feel like there is consistent opportunity for growth, whatever form that takes. Number 4 is transparency. So I'm someone that values autonomy, and which kind of goes back to that leading point, right? Like I very much value the ability to lead and make autonomous decisions and feel empowered in the role that I'm in. And along with that, I require transparency if I don't have full autonomy, right? If I'm not completely steering the ship myself, and if I'm following someone else's direction, then I need to know where we're going. And I think that is why I talk so much about transparency in leading a team. And because it's something I value so much myself, without understanding the bigger picture and without feeling like I know where my company is headed and where my career is headed and what I need to do to get us there and how my role or the team that I'm working with plays into that larger picture, then I'm unfulfilled. So transparency, non-negotiable. Number 5 is challenge. I cannot explain or really understate how much I appreciate and love a challenge. I want to have a Rubik's Cube in front of me every single morning when I get to my office, right? Not an actual Rubik's Cube. Okay. I've tried to solve them so many times. I just can't do it. And I can't tell you how many hours of YouTube videos I watched on solving a Rubik's Cube. I have to be challenged. I need different. I need no 2 days to look the same. I need a problem that is going to help me grow. I need to feel like I don't know the answer to something, right? Like there's something in a challenge, try something new that keeps me engaged, that keeps me ambitious and motivated and all. I just love a challenge. Okay. I just love it, except for like physically. I don't love a physical challenge like running. Don't sign me up for running. Okay. My last non-negotiable are benefits. And a lot of this to me, of course, it's like standard things, right? Like health insurance and PTO and having an employer that does appreciate a work-life balance and flexibility, right? Like the actual benefits that come from working at a cool or good or, successful company. So those are not my non-negotiables. Why do you care about those, you ask? Because I have the opinion that every person needs to have a list of non-negotiables. And we are going to talk about why. So, when I started my job hunt, I kept that note up on my phone every single interview that I had. And I had a lot of interviews. And I was talking to people in and outside of the industry and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, property managers and vendors and all the things. And I used this list of non-negotiables as my source of truth. And every interview that I had, I opened them up again. And I would think, okay, well, this company doesn't meet 1 or 3 or 4 or 6, or it doesn't meet number 5. It doesn't even matter. Like this list of non-negotiables means, and this is why they're called non-negotiables. If not every single one of these boxes is being checked, then like I don't want it. And that is why the list remains short, but it's powerful. And since then, every employee that I have had the opportunity to manage, I have explained non-negotiables and why they're important. This list also is really like what guided me through knowing that leaving my job at the time was the best thing that I had to do. And it is the thing that keeps me at my job now, because I look at those still to this day consistently, and I make sure that I am holding myself to that source of truth that is so deeply important to me. So employees out there, why is a list of non-negotiables important? Number 1, they help you create boundaries with yourself and with your employer of things that are most important to you. And they also make you think about what really matters, right? Like a short and succinct list of non-negotiables is important. If you have a list of 25 non-negotiables, then like you're probably not going to find the job. If you have a list of 5 or 8 or 3 or 1, right? Then like this is what truly matters to me. I strip away everything else. Like, what if your non-negotiable is that you have to work somewhere that allows remote work? Okay, that's not one of my non-negotiables, but it might be one of yours. So you know that every single job that doesn't allow remote work, like cross that off your list. I don't know. It just, like I said, that is your internal compass. And I think that it helps guide you in the right direction to know what's next. So we're going to talk about how you create yours, but I just really encourage everyone now, even if you're super, super happy in your role right now, like that is one of the most incredible times to build your list of non-negotiables, because clearly they're all being met, right? Like it doesn't matter any stage of your career that you're in, even if you own a company, it's still important that your own non-negotiables are being met. If you own and run a business, are you being challenged every day? I mean, maybe that's not one of your non-negotiables, but just do it. Okay. Just do it. And for employers, number 1, I think it's important that you have a list of your own non-negotiables, right? Like I said, even if you run your company, you still have control over those things. And that can help you lead you in the right direction to how you want to run your own business because these things are important to you. And I can guarantee you, if they're important to you, then they're at least important to one other person. Or you at least have one non-negotiable that matches one other person's, right? No two lists are the same, but there usually is some crossover. I also have talked about raving fans previously, which Jeremy Sprinkle, shout out, the one of my original mentors. He used to talk about raving fans all the time, and he had this very employee-centric leadership style, which I appreciated so much and is why I rave about my previous company now to this day because it was such a life-changing experience working for a company that was so employee-centric and is how I try to lead now. He used to say that if you take care of your employees, you create raving fans, and these raving fans will treat your customers well. And they will treat your business as if it is their own. And I very much feel like if you are an employer that values employees' non-negotiables, not to say you cater your entire business to each person's individual needs, but I do think that caring and encouraging employees to have a list of their non-negotiables is really important, right? You do want raving fans. Ultimately, you have a better business. You have employees that treat your customers better. You have happier employees and less churn, more overall employee retention, and your customers end up being happier for that reason. So it's just, if you're an employer and you're listening to this and you're like, this doesn't really apply to me, I do think that it does. Okay, let's talk about how to create your list of non-negotiables. Now, let's start with the good old notes app on your phone or a pen and paper. Okay. I am partial to the notes app on my phone. That baby, let me tell you, if my phone got stolen and someone dropped into the notes app on my phone, they would find truly, like, they'd find my future kids' names. They'd find my list of work non-negotiables. They would find like a text message that I really had to think about before I wanted to send it. So I needed to, like, in my notes app, they would find a lot of grocery lists and a lot of Target shopping trips, but like there's some tea in there. I can guarantee you. And every outline for every Workflows and Espressos episode I ever did. And that person would be like, man, you know what? I could tell that you really didn't prepare that much. I'm just kidding. I do prepare. Okay. So get the notes app out, get a pen and piece of paper. Yeah, that's right. Get a piece of paper and a pen and make sure that you're in a spot to do some thinking. Okay. And it's fine. Like, let's start the list. Write as much stuff down as you possibly can is my first piece of advice. Write down like what you think is most important to you. Okay. The free ski pass, check. The parking spot that's not 2 miles away, that's random, whatever, I made it up. 20 days of PTO. I don't care. It's yours and yours alone, but get thinking, okay? And if you need some ideas, start thinking about things that you do not like. For example, one thing that I noticed for me is the second that I felt like I was in a position or a role or with a company where I was not learning, I felt like I wanted to rip all my hair out and like move to a different country and get a whole nother career. So that was a sign for me that like learning is probably one of my non-negotiables. So like use a list of things that you don't like. Just get the ideas flowing. Okay. Once you have your list of ideas, I want you to start whittling down to what is truly, truly important. And here's why it's important to have a small but meaningful list. If your list is too big, and I said this earlier, you will never find, it's like having a list of the perfect man, okay? Listen, any of you out there who are looking for the perfect man and you've got a note on your phone that's 150 bullet points, like it's probably not going to happen for you, sister, okay? So the same thing is true for a job. There are going to be things, and maybe you create different lists. Like, here are things that are important to me, but I'm willing to sacrifice. Your non-negotiables you do not set, like that is a boundary that is sharpied. Okay. You have etched that shit in stone. And that is how you know, like, this is my line that I absolutely will not cross. This is my line that, like, if everything else is right, then I'll probably cross it, right? And that will help you start, right? Like putting those things into different columns. And I would say to keep your non-negotiables under 10. You start getting higher than 10, it's getting a little squirrely, okay? You're starting to like encroach on perfect man territory. And we just know that doesn't exist unless it's my man, okay? I'm just kidding. He snores, so you can't have everything. Okay. What next? I want you, once you have this list, okay, I want you to memorize this. And I want this to become your source of truth. And I want you to stick to it. And when I say stick to it, I mean, as happy as you are right now, as unhappy as you are, as choosy as you're being in your career, if you're looking for a job hunt and you've accepted an offer and you kind of like, it doesn't matter what situation you're in, set a reminder to yourself, whether it's once a month or once a quarter or once every 6 months. Set a reminder on your phone and go back to your list and just read it and just hold yourself accountable to, okay, number 1, fill in the blank. Do I feel this way right now? Is this need of mine being met, right? It's the same thing as like just your basic needs in general. This, like, you have basic needs in a career aside from, am I collecting a paycheck, right? Like, of course, that is like an unspoken non-negotiable. These are just as important, but not talked about enough. And so ask yourself, right? Like, just use it as an accountability tool to go back to and set this reminder. If you don't remember yourself, set a reminder on your phone. And my last tip for you is that non-negotiables change depending on the stage of your life that you're in. Mine have been the same for the last 3 years, but they're probably going to look different when I have a family. And that's okay. And these are mine and mine alone to adjust as I see fit based on what is and what isn't important to me at that time in my life. And if I remove a non-negotiable tomorrow and add 2 more that I had never thought of before, like, that's fine. And that means that it's either time for me to leave my career and go find something new, or that I'm still happy because these needs are also being met, right? Like, this is a deeply personal exercise that applies to everybody, and nobody is allowed to tell you what your non-negotiables are. Of course, like, if you have a partner and you have a family, that will play a role in creating this list. But otherwise, this is for you, right? Like, this is what's important to you. This is what truly makes you happy. And I am the firmest believer that I am the best version of myself when my needs are being met at work, when I feel happy and fulfilled and challenged and like I'm learning and leading and have opportunity to grow. When I feel that those needs of mine are being met, I'm a better friend and I'm a better employee and I'm a better employer and I am a better partner and mom to my dogs, right? Like, these things are important to me because I know that they make me better. So if you have no plans today, I want you to set aside 30 minutes to an hour, start brainstorming. And it's okay if you don't finish the list today, but make it your goal for May to finish your list of non-negotiables. And for any employers out there who have a lot of employees that listen to this episode and quit their jobs, maybe that's a you problem. Okay. I'm just kidding, but I hope this was helpful. It is something, again, that I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to stop talking about it, and it's meaningful for me to have been able to share it with you today. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments or ideas, or if you have a similar exercise of your own, please LinkedIn message me, go to workflowsandspressos.com and write in, ask Meaghan. I am very excited to hear feedback on this and be back next week for our episode on conferences and all things, deciding what conference to go to, when to go, how much to budget, who to bring, what to do, all the things. And make sure that you're checking out my LinkedIn on Mondays because we're asking questions every Monday, baby. Okay. I'm very excited. And Susie, thanks for listening all the way through. If you are the last person standing on this episode, I love you. You're the best. Okay. It was so fun hanging out today, guys. I can't wait to see you next week. Bye.